Welcome, heathens and witches, to the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. I'm John Norgrove, this is Julie Norgrove, and we're here to talk about witchy stuff. And today is an intro to protection magic.
That's right.
If you're new here, we're not experts, we're just, like, practitioners for some time. So, you know, like, be cool, bro. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like this video, comment below, share, and subscribe to this channel for more fun stuff. If you're listening to us on your podcast network, don't forget to subscribe so you catch all of our newest episodes. These come out every other Monday.
And leave us a good review, because that helps other people find this content as well.
Leave a bad review, that's fine also, but
we could do that. We could make a thing of everybody leaving us bad reviews. No,
we're not going
we
to
don't
do
want
that.
to do that. Never mind.
That's way too much. That's way too much work.
That worked for the Italian place in San Francisco on Yelp. I don't think that's.
That's worked for several places. It's just it's so much work, man. I don't need that. I would like to even say that I'd argue with you if you left a bad review, but I'm not going to. That's also just way more negative effort than I need to put forth into anything. So yeah. Check out all of our stuff. If you are into this witchy stuff, join our Patreon. We have a Horn and Cauldron podcast specific tier on our Patreon. So join our the Horn and Cauldron Coven, as we're calling it. We have a Discord, like a private Discord server channel or whatever. I don't really understand how Discord works super great. So yeah, I'm gonna be an old person about Discord. Just be okay with that, or teach me like a responsible young person. You young person, you. And if young people listen,
or you
I have no
young person.
I have no clue who listens to this. Let me tell you, dirty behind the scenes secret. Not really how podcasts work.
I mean, I know how to produce them. I know how to put them on the thing that you are listening on, and that is the end of that knowledge. Hey, you're gonna scare away our 3 listeners.
Yeah, hey.
Don't scare away.
We can't scare them away.
Listeners.
Those 3 listeners are vested. Yeah. What's up? It's hot the last couple of days. Damn. Right? Because they're local, clearly. They're just friends.
Yeah.
But all of our listeners are friends if they want to be. But yeah, also on our Patreon is the Book of Shadows pages. I'm technically a week behind. I was on vacation. Literally, like, from everything. We were out of town on vacation.
Yeah, we had a nice little Beltane vacation.
Yeah, we had a little Beltane vacation. But so, we do Book of Shadows pages for each one of these podcasts. And I just put Thor out, like, the day before this was recorded. I finally finished that one up. That was not easy to do. And that'll give you a synopsis of the thing that we cover, as well as the completed list of correspondences, because we don't go over all of that, because we don't have that much fucking time.
Also, who wants to listen to me just read a list of things?
Blue, red, green, purple, teal, orange, white, black. I mean, literally, like, that's some of them. So, what's up? And the other side of our Book of Shadows pages is the spells we go over, and all of these spells, again, these are spells that we wrote.
And they're all nice and simple spells that you can usually modify in any way that you want. They're spells that work for people who are experienced practitioners, as well as people who are just getting started or just wanting to learn more about witchcraft and magic. So they're all nice and simple. You don't need to memorize a huge ritual.
We're not doing memory stuff.
There's nothing wrong with that, but this is not the podcast is not a place for those.
As someone who has thousands and thousands of pages of ritual memorized, don't do it. That's what I'm going to say. TLDR, don't do it. Write it in a pretty book. Then you get a pretty craft book. Bam.
That's right.
Spell book.
That's right. It's very beautiful.
So definitely check that out. Check us out on Patreon. Check us out on social media. All the links, blah, 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 whatever. You'll find us. Don't worry. It's basically Nerd Jive everywhere. So just look there. If you want to reach out to us, or you have questions, or you want to talk about it, or conversations, or whatever, literally hit us up anywhere.
On any of our social media.
On any of the social media. We've got everything.
That's right.
I'm trying to think of a thing that we don't have, and I have all of them. We also both work in social media professionally, so that's part of the reason why we have everything. Some of them I also don't know how to use, so, yeah. I'm not that old.
But that's okay. I know how to use everything, and I'm older than you are.
That's fair. That's fair, yeah. I mean, listen, my knowledge is more vast. about shit not social media worthy. Not about social media. No. What I'm saying is that I know a bunch of other shit that doesn't have to do with social media. Social media is nice, but some of this young person's social media, I don't get what the point is. We have TikToks though. Follow us on TikTok. That's an experience. So follow.
That is
Goddess Jules on TikToks, where you get informational witchy stuff on like a fairly regular basis. She puts out a bunch of fun witchy TikToks. Or you can follow me. I'm at NerdJive on TikTok, and it's mostly me dressed in tie-dye doing funny ninja things. That's or right. Occasionally singing and dancing. So, oh yeah, and like flowers and like painting and art and just random shit. I'm a random person. But yeah, with I guess all of that said, I have blabbed on for long enough. And let's what the fuck is protection magic?
Well, first of all, there's a lot that goes into protection magic. A lot of instances, a lot of things you can do, a lot of ways that you can handle it. So this one is really going to be the first of a few podcasts that we do, and we're not doing them in a row.
There's a lot more than a few.
But this is the first of a lot of podcasts on protection magic.
So this is an intro. It's like a 101, but it's not, because we've all taken those 101 classes. This is like that intro to college English class that you take before you get into college when you're in high school and you're like, I don't know why I'm taking this. It's the overview. You need the overview. And then once we're in the overview mode of everything, right, obviously, like, in here we're going to talk about each one, but what we'll do later on in future podcasts is go into the nitty-gritty of some of these, like, very small, specific, detailed things. So we like to kind of bounce back and forth between, like, sort of broad stroke 101s or intros. And again, the intros are going to be a little bit more vague than the 101s, but they're also going to cover significantly more information within that subject line. And then we also do sort of like deep dives, and those are hyper specific and incredibly informative.
I mean, they're all incredibly informative.
They are all incredibly informative. Also, I have no clue what we're going into because I don't write these. She does. So I'm just here for commentary.
That's right.
Yeah.
So let's get started.
Commentary.
Malaise commentary?
Yeah, malaised commentary.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so protection magic is really one of the most basic forms of magic, and it really helps you to build a strong foundation on your journey, whatever it is that you're doing. And a lot of the things in this even apply to people who are not magical practitioners. So a lot of people post and repost this meme that's like birthday candles are the original magic because you blow that out and you make a wish and the wish comes true, that kind of thing. And I'm not going to say that protection magic is...
I don't think that's very old.
The meme?
No, not the meme. The meme's 1,200 years old. No. I mean the, like, candles on a cake and you blow them out. I don't think that's nearly as old as we think that is.
Protection magic is definitely older, and I wasn't able to get into some of the origins of this because it's very far-flung and not easy for me to research. Guys, we both have day jobs, so if you really enjoy this content, definitely consider supporting us on Patreon. That way we can build towards making this. And if you have a correction
or question or something you want to talk about, go to the YouTube video of this podcast where you can watch our silly faces while we talk. And comment there. Those I always generally respond to. So yeah, let's have a conversation about protection magic. So, I would argue that the oldest, I would argue that older than birthday candles, but also falls within the category of what we're talking about, which is protection magic, salt over the shoulder.
Well,
because that's for everywhere. Far the hell as I'm
it's not actually
salt
everywhere.
over the shoulder.
That's primarily a Western custom.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
But protection magic.
Salt in the eye.
Don't put salt in your eye. Protection magic has some roots that, just off the top of my head, are much older than either of those things and date back to the Neolithic age, which is somewhere between 5,000 and 20,000 years in the past, and perhaps even further back than that. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Well, when you think about it, as people begin to form, not necessarily even rituals, but as normalized activities begin to form, like, logically, you're gonna get some people kind of going, like, I don't like that. You gotta put blue before red, because,
well,
you know,
kind of.
like, it's that thing where it's sort of like, protection magic, in quotes, because I'm doing this on a fucking podcast, Jesus. Protection magic, in quotes, is also that, like, old wives' tale and good or bad juju, and it's all that, like, it's honestly, it's that, like, generic, like, which, like, does your head sleep towards the door or away from the door in your bedroom?
It definitely
you know
has
what I'm
a
saying?
lot of
Like,
roots there, for sure.
it's definitely connected to, like, well, this shit's creepy. I probably shouldn't do this no more. You know, or like, it's less creepy if I'm holding this thing. Maybe this thing protects me from creepiness. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
off the top of my head, using something like symbols or sigils for protection magic dates back tens of thousands of years. And we talked about this a little bit in our Imbolc podcast, although I didn't go into depth in it. There are these, like, burial mounds that they have in various parts of Europe that are oriented so that the light shines in to, you know, in this hall of this burial mound at a certain time of day at a certain time of year. And many of these are inscribed with sigils and symbols that, it's the vampires, that are associated with protection later on, because we obviously don't have any recorded history that old. This is the best we've got. Yeah. So there are certainly hints that protection magic goes back very, very far. So it's definitely older than birthday candles on a birthday cake. Yeah. Not to take anything away from that meme. It's funny, and I grin every time. Yeah. But
although you know, I would rather fancy the idea of, like, Neolithic people hunched over, like, a pile of acorns and some shit, trying to blow out a stick on fire.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, fuck a birthday cake, put a stick in a steak and set that shit on fire.
We can make that happen.
We can.
Yeah. So before we talk about the various forms of protection magic, which are like objects and amulets, cleansing and shielding, first I want to talk a little bit about the evil eye, which is very coincidental because somebody on my TikTok commented on a video yesterday or the day before asking if anyone can do the evil eye. And I was like, oh, perfect timing. We're doing this podcast. So the evil eye is not necessarily a curse or a hex.
Sure.
The evil eye can also be cast by anyone. It doesn't have to be somebody who's a witch, or any other form of sorcerer.
Quote, evil eye TM is just the term that we are using and that often people use for, like, a whole cross section of shit.
Oh, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Like think the way that I want you to think of evil eye is, and the reason why I'm saying this is because, like, some people are gonna have different opinions about evil eye and what is and what isn't and all this. Evil eye, like TM, evil eye, the branded name evil eye, you know, incorporated as it were, right? Is like sort of an overarching statement with regard to what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
We're not talking about, like, the very specific thing that. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I know, like, some practices, it's like, well, you know, there's curses and there's hexes, but then evil eye is something different. And I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. That's not at all what's happening. Honestly, it's like that. If that's what the evil eye is to you,
definition
that's
of
what the evil eye is to you. We're using the evil eye in its, like, copyright free, available for commercial use, like, knockoff generic evil eye phrasing. We're not using evil eye TM. To put it in that way, right?
To break it down and to simplify what it is that you said, basically, the evil eye is when someone or something, as in like an entity of some sort, projects its negative energy out into the universe, and that can be directed at a person or a place, even or a thing sometimes, but sometimes it's just loose energy floating about, and it's even possible for you to cast a form of the evil eye upon yourself. So, like, if you're around a really negative person, you can feel the bad vibrations. And, some people are more or less sensitive to this.
Shitty people are shitty. Don't
well,
be
and that's just
or
not
be around
people that are
shitty
bad people. That's just
I
somebody
didn't say bad
who's
people.
like,
I said shitty people.
Eeyore-ing around. So, you can feel those bad vibrations, and people that are more sensitive to that sort of thing can definitely sort of not only feel them, but sort of accidentally have them attach onto themselves, and it can be hard to shake
be
that
deleteriously affected by it. Also, Eeyore isn't a shitty person. I'm just putting that out there. Eeyore was my favorite character from that show because that guy was a depressing realist, and
I don't know that I had a favorite character.
Yeah, it was definitely Eeyore.
Of that show.
Or Roo. Roo was kind of sassy sometimes.
Oh, maybe.
But it was definitely Eeyore.
I'm guessing it was either Pooh or Piglet was probably my favorite. But I was more of a Dr. Seuss person. So
yeah, certainly, yes.
So another example of the evil eye is, if you don't like someone, you're thinking about how much you don't like them, and then some sort of misfortune befalls them. It could be as simple as like tripping, and like almost falling, or it can be more serious, and that can be a form of evil eye. So you may not even realize that you're pushing that energy out there. You're just so in that zone of being angry and upset and negative about this particular situation or person that you're just sort of coloring the world around it. And places can also be affected by the evil eye.
Places
so there
can
are,
also have eyeballs.
of course, haunted places, but like, guys, who wants to go to the DMV? Like, I'm not working on my stand-up routine here or anything, but like, seriously, if you want to tell me that the DMV is not affected by the evil eye, y'all are wrong, 'cause everything inside of that place is awful. And no one wants to go, and everyone hates it, and it only makes it worse. Now, this is not to say that we should be good vibes all the time, right? This is not a positive vibrations, let's raise that energy
place.
Kind of talk. Yeah,
you could be positive.
This is not that place. This is definitely
also
not
be
that
negative.
talk.
Also O negative. Just, whatever. Give us your blood.
So the evil eye effect and protection magic really
Please
sort
don't,
of.
by the way. I don't want that. That's gross. Yeah,
really
sorry,
sort of work hand in hand. Yeah, don't send us your blood. It's creepy.
For the love of God.
Protection magic is used to not only ward off the evil eye, but to also protect people from negative energy, as well as make it harder for people to become affected by the evil eye. So when we talk about these things in protection magic, we will probably switch in between the terms evil eye and curse and hex and negative energy. To us, it's basically all the same thing.
Yeah, it's sort of all the same thing. I mean, the thing is, man, is that, like, everybody's gonna have a kind of different interpretation of like whatever negative vibes or whatever, right? And like, it's cool whether you are or are not like negatively vibing at a time, right? But the important part is the awareness of it, right?
Yeah.
There are some times when you are in a situation or a location and you're feeling blue, and maybe or down or evil-eyed or hexed or something bad is happening or whatever, right? Maybe it's the place. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's neither of those things, and there just happens to be like a dense cumulonimbus cloud of evil eyes passing over.
But also, maybe you're just having an off day.
Think of it like weather. Like, it's not nobody knows what's going on with the weather. It's all a crapshoot.
Yes.
Right? That's what I'm saying. It's like you can go into a place and like if you're dolled up to the nines with like salts and crystals and the things that we're gonna go over, and you're all protected up, and you go into like a dentist's office and you have a bad like relationship with dentistry or something like that, then you have a bad relationship with dentistry. That has nothing. Yeah. This dentist isn't cursed. They're not coming at you, right? It's just that like the sound of that high pitched whiny drill kind of sends your body in to get the fuck out of this place.
Well, and similar to that, not everything that's bad that happens to you indicates that you're cursed or hexed. Yeah. Or
sometimes you just trip. As a solid example, I stub my toes like at least twice a day. The fact that I don't have broken toes is truly a power.
But like maybe you're cursed for that.
I mean, maybe. I have no bloody clue. I'll tell you what, my whole family has a superpower. Let me tell you about my family's superpower. If you are sewing and you drop a needle, it does not matter how hard you try, we will find that needle better than you with our feet. That's just how this works. In fact,
so true.
One time whilst shooting a podcast, and I've been in this space near where we are for sitting in the podcast for a while getting everything set up, and I'm sitting here and we're sitting and I like moved my foot and I'm just like, there's something there, and I like kind of dipped out of frame and dipped back into frame. Bloody pin.
Yeah, a sewing pin. I hadn't sewn in like 2 weeks.
And she hadn't sewn in like forever. It's apparently had been there. Nobody's getting it's like a main path right next to me right now.
Yeah.
It's a Norgro family superpower.
So
we find needles. So it's like sometimes sometimes it feels like a curse and sometimes it's not. So
and sometimes
it is.
Just happen.
Yeah, but
and
sometimes
even protection magic cannot save you from that. And just as a full disclosure for our theoretical lawyers, none of these things are meant to take place of common sense or other protective measures that you may take.
Yeah, actual medical safety, actual physical safety, actual psychological safety. If you are feeling down and out, talk to a professional.
Yeah.
We, and I cannot stress this enough, are two assholes in front of a camera with a laptop. Several laptops. Like, there's a bunch of laptops in this house. But still, we are just two assholes in front of a camera. So, like, take it with a grain of salt, but also, like, if you got cholesterol problems, don't do that salt. So, like, let's be smart about it, right? At a certain point in time, like amulets and warding spells and sigils aren't gonna protect you from like actually tripping over something.
That's right.
Right? Like,
That's right.
I'm not giving you the power of flight. I'm giving you the protection from that evil eye shit sometimes.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
So, with all of that squirreling, let's get into it. So, we're first going to talk about objects.
First object, squirrels.
First object, squirrels. I mean, I guess it could be a squirrel. So, objects include, but are certainly not limited by any of these categories. There are, again, protection magic is so widely varied and so ancient and so old and so inherent in our society that that there's really no limit. So amulets and jewelry. So a common form of protection magic is to wear crosses or other religious symbols. And crosses are not necessarily just for those who follow the Christian faith or other Abrahamic religions, but crosses are a very, very old symbol of protection in our entire species. But they've kind of changed over time, so that's not necessarily a bad thing there. But other religious symbols have been used historically to partially identify yourself as being from that faith or partaking in that faith in some way, but also to give protection. So, like, think of it as, like, you know, in a movie, there's this person and they're being accosted by, like, a vampire or a demon or whatever the evil thing is, and they, like, hold up a cross to scare away the entity. That's a protective thing. The cross is a protective symbol in that manner. Yeah,
but it's a protective symbol in that manner because the person is accepting it, believing it as the protective symbol, right? So you've got your crosses. Come to my shop. You've got your crosses. We've got your Mjolnirs. We've got your pieces of iron. We got your iron nails, right? Iron nail, very standard. We got your horseshoes above the door, right? Amulets and jewelry are like literally as infinite as you can possibly think. I mean, think about like a worry stone, which can be used to protect people from like dread and worry, right? Like hagstone necklaces is obviously super common. Iron for when you're like combating fey folk based stuff or like magical stuff in the like Celtic space has a lot of places do, but those are the ones that I know best about with regard to iron being antithetical to magic. Lodestones, certain colored crystals, all that sort of stuff, right? As well as like the standard issue like cross or Star of David or pentagram or the little like oval shaped pendants that got like a saint stamped on them.
Yeah.
Or any of that stuff. In fact, I have
you have like a little jar of blessed water.
I've got a jar of blessed water from a Virgin Mary fountain when I went into France. And then I got rosary made from wood in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That like monk rosary that I have. So yeah, definitely. So it's a lot of, when you think of like amulets and jewelry, a lot of it's going to be about the stuff that like you believe has power.
Yeah, and
right?
it doesn't have to be jewelry, but it can also just be iconography of saints or religious leaders or other entities. So Mjolnir, having a pendant that's the Saint Francis of Assisi or Virgin Mary,
well,
or even angels,
symbols representing
animals,
people.
Symbols.
I don't know if that's on camera or not, but she has an ankh on her shoulder
and an Eye of Horus.
My arms and hands are literally covered with like Norse tattoos. So, Norse stuff.
It can even break down into tattoos. So any of that sort of iconography can be used as a protective symbol, but also heirlooms. And this one is less of historically we have found, but more of a evolution of wealth and of style and of the ability to have things. So right now, jewelry is pretty cheap, and you can get it basically
by relative
anywhere.
Comparison to history. It's expensive.
Yeah. So
we understand
good
that.
Quality
we see those K commercials.
jewelry can be very expensive, and especially in the past, it was a lot more expensive relative to income, and you didn't have, just these like cheap knockoff things that you could buy super cheap from websites that we will not name, or countries that we will not name.
Those dope real meteorite.
So in the past, jewelry was not only more expensive, but also harder to come by because you had to have a lot more skill to be able to make jewelry, especially before the Industrial Revolution. You had to have a guy, or a lady, I guess, make this jewelry themselves. So you're really looking at, in the olden times, it was very craftspeople sort of thing. So while, it is very common when you watch things or when you read things that take a historical bent, that they talk about, people being dripped in jewels and stuff like that. That may be true for people who were on the higher echelons of society, or perhaps people who were affiliated with the church in certain cultures, but that is not your everyday person. Your everyday person had only a few items of jewelry. They had only a few pairs of clothes.
Just think of something as simple and unobtrusive as a gold ring is not easy to make. You have an electricity and modern high-speed tools and shit.
So
trust me, I do a lot of hand woodwork and like leatherwork and stonework, and it takes forever to carve a bloody rock.
So passing on jewelry items to future generations was not only to keep the wealth in the family, but also to remember the deceased loved one, to carry on traditions of the past, and
in some cultures to bless a transition into the future, right? I mean, the idea that like you're gonna want you want to wear your grandmother's ring or your is one side of it, which is where like you want to honor your grandmother, but on the other side, there's also, if your grandmother presents you with your ring, for a lack of better words, this is the common trope, right? Your grandmother presents you with a ring. That's an honor bestowed on you to have that ring that your grandmother gave you, or something like that. Or like in the Norse tradition, right? The honor of giving giving a family sword over to a spouse, or bringing a sword into a family, or a weapon. Then for the Norse, I mean, jewelry, weaponry, they were both incredibly important,
expensive and rare, and important,
and expensive, because I mean, like start your barbecue with charcoal and then heat a rock that's made of iron and hammer it into a sword. That's a lot of craft and a lot of skill and a lot of time. And I mean, like, you have to be able to literally pick up a rock and tell the fucking iron content relative to its carbon content. Like, these are crafts, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, the heirlooms have power insofar as they represent not only the effort of the crafter, but the will and efforts that were the family has undertook to keep that thing special.
Well, in many ways,
you know what I mean?
Passing on heirlooms like that is a mild form of ancestor worship, as well as an extension of spiritual protection from them.
It certainly can be. Yes,
you know, so it's a really interesting way to think about heirlooms coming down in the family. People.
All right, we're back. Go.
So, you know, really, like, heirlooms are a lot less common now than they were, like, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So having an heirloom or something like that is really
What's the
cool.
protective power of the heirloom of debt?
Yeah, right. That's the millennial problem.
Yeah.
The heirloom of debt.
Fucking hashtag sad financing.
With you. So, yeah, heirlooms are a fairly interesting side of protection magic that you don't necessarily even have to participate in, but I think it's a pretty cool observation and thought behind. So next are wards. So wards are basically anything that is warding off evil or the evil eye or curses or hexes.
It's the kid that you're raising because you beat up his dad and now you get to raise his kid in old-timey ways to protect your kingdom, right?
No, it's not that kind of ward.
King of the North or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know, wards.
It's not that kind of ward.
Yeah. Wards of the state, like kids that we got to take care of.
No, it's also not that kind of
okay.
ward.
No.
It's like horseshoes.
Like if they're really low, they're like these giant wrestler guys on AEW.
No.
Yeah, that's a Ward Low joke.
That was good.
That's good.
But he's
it's not
really
good at
tall.
all. I know, but his last name is Ward Low. Man, I'm working with what I got. Damn.
Low. I'm not even gonna give.
It was already given. Don't worry.
You didn't even do psychiatric wards. So wards are most commonly like horseshoes or iron and things like that. 4-leaf clovers are commonly for luck, but also as a protective.
Well, it's a
charm.
ward against bad luck insofar as it's giving you good luck, right?
Exactly.
Again, this is one of those perspective things. You're gonna get used to listening to me talk circularly like this. It's a physics thing. It's because I apply quantum mechanics to real life shit that it doesn't apply to. But it's sort of like one direction or another. It depends on where you're approaching it from. 4-leaf clovers. If you have like a thing, bloody. I got a bunch of them here. Like challenge coin style things. If you keep them in your wallet, you would consider that a ward.
Yeah.
Or any of that kind of like
I have a keychain that my dad gave to me.
Yeah.
That had a key to his
it's two
storage
things. It's heirlooms
unit.
and wards.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, it was a key to his storage unit, and I just kept it. He's been.
Yeah, I keep a challenge coin in my wallet and patch from something or something. I don't remember now.
Yeah. So
it's a big wallet,
wards
so
can also be
shit gets
like,
lost.
you know, somebody has a cross or another religious symbol hanging up in their house. That can be a ward.
Yep.
You know, even like other types of spiritual icons or statuary, art and statues, much like jewelry, are another way to provide protection. And some of the most common ways that you see this is not
Carry
only with
around
like
a 14-foot statue.
I mean, you could do that if you wanted. That's a bit extreme, but to each his own. I'm not gonna magic shame you. Some of the more interesting ways that you can think about wards are like gargoyles. Gargoyles were created to protect the buildings and the occupants of the buildings. So,
They guard against the oils. Gargoyles.
Yes. Same thing for like lions on gateways.
These are primo dad jokes, guys.
No, I'm not going to give it to you.
Gargoyles? You're not giving me gargoyles? That shit is hilarious. That's the best dad joke I've made in like a decade.
I'm not gonna do that. You had a funnier dad joke the other day.
That's not true. I do not believe
So
that.
another thing that was originally used as a protective ward that has sort of morphed into something else now is garden gnomes.
Yeah.
So garden gnomes date back to the Middle Ages, and
creepy, man.
they were initially statuary used as wards to essentially make peace with and placate as well as ward off evil of the Fey folk.
Yeah.
So that is another thing.
Nothing
that
says
is a
stay out of my
protective ward.
garden like a weird ceramic effigy of yourself pooping on a car symbol or something. You know?
That's very specific.
Have you not seen that garden lawn gnome?
I
Every
have,
car symbol you can think of.
We almost bought some garden gnomes recently.
Yeah, those were dope. Dios
they were
de
really
los
cool.
Muertos.
But instead,
ones.
we bought metal flowers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Another thing that you can commonly use to ward off or, employ protection from magic is sigils. So, a sigil or a symbol can really be just about anything. So, we've talked about some of those already, crosses and other religious symbols.
We will do a whole podcast just on sigils.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's also some that are a little bit less known, but still common, like a Vejvisir and Ejjalmir, which are from the Norse tradition and are protective and good luck and, that sort of thing. John has those as
wrists.
Tattoos on both of his wrists.
Yep. Vejvisir and Ejjalmir.
Yeah, even things like the Ankh and the Eye of Horus, which are tattoos that I have, are meant to protect.
Yeah.
But a sigil doesn't have to be a tattoo. They can be just about anything, and they can be displayed in plain sight. They can be hidden inside or underneath or behind objects, as well as you can create your own sigils, which again we'll talk about in a future podcast when we talk about sigils.
We'll do a future podcast on sigils, but yeah, there's sort of the two ways to look at sigils, right? There's the sigils, what with somebody else did, and you're like, I want to participate in this. Whether that is paying somebody to design a sigil for you, or using something with some sort of historical significance, like a Vejvisir or an Ejjalmir, or a cross, or an Ankh, or a Star of David, or just a bloody. There's so many. There's so many.
Yeah.
Right. But you can also make your own sigils, right? Whether you're following a practice like rune stave making, which there's a bunch of different esoteric practices with regard to that, or you can just do something yourself as long as you
as long as it makes sense to you.
Yeah, as long as it makes sense to you and it matters to you, that's what's important.
The thing that's important.
Again, I also have those tattooed on me.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of tattoos.
After sigils, really, we have crystals and herbs, so you can keep these on your person, in your home, in your car, wherever it is that you want to put in your backpack, in your purse. You don't put it in your shoe. That'll probably give you a blister.
This is what I'm going to say. The people who understand what I'm about ready to say know what I'm talking about. The people who don't look into it. But heed it anyway. Crystals and shit stay outside of the body. That's it. Just keep them on the outside. If you're reading some shit about crystals being on the inside of the body, don't do it.
Yeah, it's probably
just
not good for you.
Don't. They're not right.
Yeah. So
you're not a doctor. You know what I'm talking about, but it had to be said. If we're talking about crystals and sigils that you're wearing with you, put on a fucking necklace. Don't put it inside of you.
Yeah, also think twice before putting it in your water. We've talked about that in other podcasts. In addition to general protection, there are many herbs and crystals that are specific in their protective abilities. For instance, some herbs or sigils herbs or crystals are for travel over water, like a moonstone is protective for water travel, or nightmares or psychic attacks or stuff like that. So there's all kinds of different deviations of what things are protective by. And the list is so long as to be, it would probably take me an hour to read all of those things.
Maybe one day, maybe one day we make I don't know. We would have to make like a whole bloody website just for all of the interconnected, like correspondences and their associations and how they connect and all this. I need to do
a very intense Google sheet.
Yes, and it's very long, and this is what I'm going to say: Excel isn't good enough for that.
No.
I need to write like a fucking proper database, and I can do it. I know how to do databasing, but
that is a task for another time. I don't have time for that. It's a lot of work, and I'm always adding to it, so it's not like it's done.
Yeah.
So and for protection things, you can take all of the things that we've named above. You can take amulets, you can take jewelry, you can take iconography, you can take wards, you can take crystals and herbs and sigils, and you can put those into jars or sachets that are for protective qualities. Yep. So these can be hidden or they can be in plain sight. When they're hidden, they're most often hidden in a home somewhere, perhaps in a cabinet, under a mattress, in like under the bed, in
Step
a drawer.
2, put it in a box.
Or buried in your land is another common one. You often hear about jars or sachets that have been uncovered when homes are renovated and they open up walls or dig up things for a variety of different reasons on the land. It is not necessarily a good idea or a bad idea to bury something like that in your land, but please keep in mind that if you are putting something in your home somewhere or on your land, you will probably forget about it. And
put biodegradable shit in the ground.
The contents of these jars may not be great for the ground.
Or mark where it is.
Or as well as they might not be great to just keep in a cupboard because you might forget what it is, or it's possible that the jar could I don't want to say explode, but it
can 100%
but it could
explode.
absolutely explode.
You made a dope jar spell in the dead of winter, and you put it in your cabinet. Come July, there's a good chance that thing's gonna fucking blow up, bro.
Yeah, I have definitely had jar spells just gas off and sort of explode.
As a brewer. One of my 8 bajillion hobbies, bottles can just explode. You just have to accept that as reality. Glass sometimes gets all detonaty.
Yeah, so these jar spells and sachets can be simple, they can be complex, they can be small, they can be large, they can be like whatever it is that you want them to be. That is the beauty of them. They are so versatile and so, customizable to what it is that you want and what you're doing, that you can basically do anything. So that's about it for objects. Now we have several protective objects within our house. We have a couple of pentagrams. We have one in the kitchen, and
we do have several pentagrams in the house.
We have one that's made of wheat.
We've got some straw stuff. We've got
brooms.
Several brooms. We have 8 quadrillion tons of dried flowers.
We have a lot of crystals and herbs.
So many fucking crystals, man.
We also have iconography of statues, and you have several Mjolnirs, and I have a lot of jewelry.
I got axes all over the place. For me, that and speaking of protective objects and wards and such like that, with regard to my particular bend of practice, I keep axes and swords and spears and shit around the house, not like in dangerous ways. We have dogs and friends over, but like in like nice places. In fact, like next to my altar, I have like swords hung up like artistically. But yeah, so it's one of those things where, and it's funny because we talked about this when we first bought this place. We were sort of like, oh man, like what can we do? I remember you asked this. You're like, what can we do decoratively that's gonna make this feel like those like elaborately decorated witchy houses that you see in like modern film and
guys,
comic books
we're pretty there
and all this kind of stuff and and I'll tell all of you guys the same thing that I told Julie, which is that shit doesn't happen because a lady with a magazine ordered some stuff online.
We definitely did not get this stuff on Wayfair.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? Yeah, like it's not no shade, zero shade by the by. But it's like. And it's the same thing with the altar. This altar space, which is behind us, that currently has the Lego space station that you're looking at. What's up, nerds?
As well as my Beltane flowers.
But
if you're watching on YouTube, if
you're not watching on YouTube, I'm talking about shit that's crazy. So don't worry about it. But like our altar space has changed locations 3 times in this house over how long have we owned this house? 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah, it's changed 3 times over the last 5 years where we have our altars.
And with each change, it's only gotten bigger.
Yeah, well, that's a separate and distinct issue, right? Live life, moss, dog. But also, it very frequently changes in like style and design and layout. I mean, really, the only thing that hasn't changed is like that's always been your side and this has always been my side of the altar, the one that's in the house this iteration. Because when you think about it, the outside ones, it's flipped. Yeah, I'm on the far side and you're on the near side. But it's one of those things where like that stuff you can make a spell jar, and you can make a sachet, and you can have iconography and wards and amulets and jewelry and crystals and all this kind of stuff. But also, you don't have to have 100% of it right now.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Have 100% of what you can have right now, certainly, if that's what you're going for. Right? But it's the idea of, and I like to connect a bunch of things to walking on the beach and finding pretty rocks. If you're walking on the beach with the singular intent of finding pretty rocks, one, you're not going to find as many, and two, that's kind of like vaguely not cool, right? But if you walk on the beach and you find a pretty rock, well, that's just part of the journey.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And those are those differences. It's like walk on the beach, find your pretty rock, walk in the woods, find your pretty stick, and add to your collection, and over time you'll build a place where, man, we've got like 5 holidays worth of stuff hung up in this house.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, on top of like a bunch of my art, which is weird and eclectic.
Well,
and like a bunch
house...
of like living, like real shit that we're doing, but also like, you know, every time we get flowers frequently, every time we get new flowers, we dry some of them.
Yeah.
And we have a bunch of plants, and we have a bunch of we're building the vibe that this house has. One day we'll do a
and really right now our house is, you know, when you see that meme and it's like, oh, when I grow up I want to live in a creepy cottage in the woods with all my animals and plants.
That's so true.
That is actually our life. Yeah. Only we work day jobs that are very technological. So
we pay for so much internet.
We do. Moving on, the next type of protection magic we're going to talk about is cleansing. And not everybody would think that this is that cleansing is necessarily tied to protection magic, but really, when you think about it, it is.
Yeah.
Because cleansing not only takes away any negative energy or evil eye or curse or hex or whatever the thing is, but it also makes it harder for that stuff to latch on and to stick to that person, that place, that object, that thing. So cleansing is definitely a part of protection magic, and really it is something that you should probably employ at least on the fairly regular for yourself and your magical practice to just kind of keep you on the level and not super scattered. Which is a great segue into the first item, which is water, because we cleanse our bodies with water. Why not use that cleansing?
The cleansing power of lava.
Oh, gross. So we.
I mean, I keep the water pretty bloody hot when I take a shower.
So you can definitely use water to not only cleanse yourself as a person with, like cleansing baths and showers and stuff like that.
You can put stuff in baths if you're not a bath person, or you don't have the opportunity to bath, then you can put stuff in a shower also.
Absolutely.
Same.
But you should definitely be careful when using water to cleanse objects or to bring objects into a cleansing bath or shower, because some objects can be damaged or have chemical reactions or can be toxic when placed in water.
Don't wash your salt lamps.
Yeah, don't wash your salt lamps. And don't bring your malachite into your bath. It is toxic.
Yeah.
But you can use enchanted water to help, in addition to regular water, to help cleanse things.
Yeah, and water has always been associated with like a cleansing type thing, obviously. I mean, as we have to cleanse our bodies and we cleanse our clothing, and there's sort of like, you can have like water and bless it or enchant it or imbue it with some stuff, and then use that to cleanse a thing that you have. At the same time, you have to take a shower frequently, or if you don't, please do, or whatever.
Hygiene.
But bloody #hygiene. But like, you can turn this is that, like, you can make a big deal and then have special water for a special task, and you can also take a regular task like cleansing your body and like offer, offer up a prayer or an intention or whatever, or visualize or whatever. Like, you can make your standard hygienic bathing routine a little #magical, bro.
Yeah, why not? That's basically it. Now,
yeah, seriously. Plus, like, it's going to be a little bit more enjoyable, as well as, like, you're going to smell dope afterwards if you're using a lot of herbs and such.
Yeah, and you're going to feel great, too.
Yeah.
So you can also use water to symbolically cleanse things rather than using it to physically cleanse things. This is particularly nice with things on your altar, where you have a vessel that has your blessed water, and you place the object that you wish to cleanse near or around
Tell me I didn't
thing.
need to add water to cleanse the altar when I, like, flooded the Christmas tree.
Fucking, that happened more than once. Let's not talk about that.
Fucking covered the altar in water.
Right before we shot the Yule podcast, too. So,
Yeah,
the next most common form of cleansing is smoke cleansing.
Yeah.
And sometimes smoke cleansing is called smudging, even though smudging is a very specific ritual that most
Smudging's
people...
a specific type of smoke cleansing.
Well, smudging is a very specific ritual that most people are not actually performing because of the things that you do when you're smudging, when they're using the word. Really, using the word smudging and using the term smoke cleansing is a lot like using the term jacuzzis and hot tubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, certainly, yeah, of course. Smudging has specificity wherewithin one chooses to allow it to have specificity.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, smoke cleansing is, I feel like the most obvious version of that is probably incense.
Actually...
And then the second
Yeah.
most obvious would be that wad of leaves, what with you set on fire and you
wad
blow
leaves,
out
yeah.
and you
So-
saging things.
Yeah,
we actually make our own
Yes.
and use those
Out of
throughout
materials
the house.
sourced from
sourced on our property.
On our property,
Yeah.
or from people that we know that are growing them. Like my mom grows lavender.
Yeah.
We can't get lavender to grow here because we live literally in the middle of the woods,
Yeah.
underneath a
not
dense
enough
canopy
light.
of trees. Yeah. So smoke cleansing can be done with a variety of herbs and even incense. Again, please be careful to make sure that if you are burning something, you are not burning down something that should not be burnt.
Yeah.
As well as some herbs are toxic when they are burnt, so please do not burn things that should not be burnt.
Yeah. Fire safety, be safe with fire. Literally all safety. Don't do things that are poisonous to you.
Yeah.
Also, if you have pets, make sure you're not doing something that, like, you're fine with, but is going to be deleterious to your pets. We have house pigeons. So that's something that we have to
As
think
well
about.
as dogs.
We also have
tortoise,
dogs.
yeah.
They're fine. But Bortus is Bortus. But that's the turtle. Don't worry.
He's a tortoise.
It's the same animal.
No, it is not. It is not.
Yeah.
It is not the same.
Water, tortoise, land, turtle.
Oh, jeez. Smoke cleansing can be done with a lot of different things.
Real question,
but
what's the turtle in the sky?
Oh, I don't know. So it is usually done by passing an item through the smoke or by blowing smoke on it. Now you do the smoke cleansing in the house. Not that I can't or won't, but you primarily are the one who does that.
Yes,
So
yeah.
how do you do smoke cleansing?
So generally when I do the smoke cleansing in the house, we have these, look at this. I got props. If you're listening to this, I apologize that you can't see the props, but that's how sound works. I'm not a wizard.
If you can't
Harry.
see it, it is a smudge, or not a smudge stick. See, I just did it.
Yeah.
It is a herb bundle made of bay and lavender and redwood.
Yeah, these are like young redwood, so it's not the like older growth redwood. It's we live in a redwood forest. Like literally, that's the primary culprit to our darkness is the surrounding of redwood trees. So when you get the like shoots, the young shoots, and they have like the much like greener, arguably pointier leaves, needles, things, but yeah, and so I use like 100% natural cotton thread, and I just sort of like gather it all in a hand. When you're working with stuff that's pointy, it's quite pointy, so be careful. And then just wrap it in a twine and let those dry and age together. I hang them.
Ow.
Yeah, it's quite pointy. Yeah,
It's very
no,
sharp.
it's quite pointy. Yeah. That's the young redwood is like way stabbier, which is whatever. But yeah, the young redwood's way stabbier, but it's like way more effervescent. And we have to cull it anyway because we don't need like one tree to turn into 12 trees.
Forest management.
Forest management. Seriously, it's very important.
We live in California. It's very important.
It's very important. But I hang them near our wood-burning stove to dry, although you can literally hang them anywhere that isn't like a cold, damp place. We dry our flowers in the kitchen. Kitchens generally have good lighting, natural lighting, or like under a patio. I've dried flowers in the patio and stuff also. But we just dry it, and then I light it with a torch, with a I use a butane torch or a lighter, but I light it with a torch and then just blow it out so it's smoldery, and then you can use either a fan or just blow on it. I blow on it more often than not. I don't really have a reason for that. It's not that we don't have like a bajillion fans.
Yeah.
But I just blow on it to fill a space. I think it's because I have more control that way. And I just sort of like move throughout the house one space at a time, and just sort of like logically it's like, all right, we're going to go to the bedroom, and then we're going to go into the storage room, and then we're going to go into the kitchen, and then we're going to go into the bathroom, and then we're going to do the living room, we're going to do the outside deck area. All right, and then that's good, and then I just set that down in, again, a fire-safe location and manner, and let it sort of burn out. So it's sort of like wandering around with an incense, for a lack of better words, but with a bit more intention, and the fact that I made it myself out of like local shit that we have to do. We have to basically cull anyway to be like fire safe in our area. So I just, when I pull it, I save it and I work with it in a sort of give back way to sort of like not just waste nature, although we don't have like a green bin. Everything goes to be turned back into soil because I garden
either through the compost
ferociously
pile or through the
literally
chickens.
Every time I go into a place that sells plants at all, I have to leave with a plant. Like Walmart, Home Depot, Safeway, every single place, it's like a thing.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of money on plants.
Yeah, you're definitely a plant witch.
Yeah. I love gardening and plants and all that shit. So like if you gotta clip it and you know it's safe, then you can use that.
Yeah.
But also, again, make sure it's safe. You don't need to. Don't irritate. It. Like if you got asthma, which I had a mild case when I was younger. You got to be careful with that stuff. If you have an allergy or pets or whatever, and they have a sensitivity, just be cautious of that, and then just like don't do those things. It's super simple. Whatever you think you need to use for a thing, there's probably like at least 5 other things that you can use.
Absolutely, smoke cleansing is not the end all be all.
No, totally. Well, yeah, we got like doubling back to water cleansing, but when I do rituals, sometimes I always light an incense, and sometimes I use the smoke cleansing thing that I have. Wad is probably the best word, even though it's the grossest word.
Sure.
But like when I do some stuff, I also use. I got a beep beep boop. I got like what are these called? Like cleansing sprays.
Yeah, so it's
with
just
one of the
like
pterodecks that I kickstarted.
An aerosolized spray, and actually we've got plans to start making.
We're actually going to start manufacturing cleansing sprays with like extracts that we make. And like emulsified into water in order for it to be sprayed through a thing. But I mean, honestly, like
if you can't do smoke
even
cleansing,
smoke, like
you can't do water
cleanse your hair with smoke. Let me tell you what, dude, my hair is always a little bit nicer after like several days of campfires.
Oh yeah.
Or being near the beach, both. Sea air and like smoky air help my hair for some Christly reason. Yeah,
You've got weird hair.
I got weird hair, dude.
So another form of cleansing that you can use, especially if you are not able to use light or smoke, water or smoke, is light cleansing. And that is essentially just leaving items out in the moonlight is probably the most common thing that people talk about. But you can also leave them in the sunlight if you want them to be charged with the energy of the sun. Again, make sure whatever you're leaving out there doesn't melt.
Also, it doesn't degrade.
Leave the candy bar.
Certain plastics degrade in the sunlight. But sun cleansing actually cleans things. Ultraviolet light destroys bacteria and shit with the right amount of time. Don't assume that everything's perfectly sanitary, but like you can do a lot of cleaning. I do an incredibly large amount of sun cleansing. I use the sunlight to clean all sorts of things.
Both magically as well as practically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes. But yeah, definitely. So like use light. Get shine stuff in a candle. I have a bloody special lamp that's got a bunch of dangly bits next to my area of the altar, and I will often hold a card under the lamp, one, in order for me to read it, but two, in order for it to sort of be like a little bit fancier feeling. So, I mean, do that kind of stuff, right? Like, do whatever, man. Okay, we're back at it again. What's next?
Visualization.
No. I have no problem with that.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So...
It was too easy. Acting.
So visualization is the last type of cleansing protective magic that we're going to talk about tonight. And there's, well, just of the cleansing side of things, we still have a whole nother section. But you can do a lot of different types of visualization. This one is really very, very customizable to what it is that you want to do. Yeah. Some popular ways to visualize and cleanse things is aura cleansing, Reiki, and chakra cleansing. Yeah. And I am not as well versed in all of them, but I am well versed in the art of visualization as well as a few of those ones that I named. Yeah. And really, it's just using the power of intention and the power of your mind to direct the energy in such a way where it cleanses the object or person or place without having to having a minimum of other types of physical aids.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely understand the cleansing power of seeing shit that ain't there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah. Lately, I've been working on doing a lot of chakra cleansing, and I found it to be very helpful for me to just sort of like get more in the moment, and it helps me with meditation as well as to kind of like figure out how to heal old wounds and move forward with, my path in life.
Yeah.
But you can really use visualization for pretty much any of these, or all of these, as well as any of these cleansing things can certainly be paired with other types of cleansing, as well as some of the objects.
Yeah, you can like visualize while you're watering stuff or something. I use, the reason why I meant just like washing stuff with water because I saw the water under cleansing, but visualization can also be like if you designed a sigil, think about it often. Yeah, she's playing with a light, guys. There you go.
Whoops.
All the audio people got no understanding what's happening. All the visual people
I just
saw
pressed the button and my ring light turned on.
Yeah, it's the ring light on button. Who the fuck? It's same button that's always been there.
Just fidgeting.
Yeah, that's fine. I get it. Visualization can be from anything from like high level practices like aura and Reiki and chakra visualizations and stuff like that, to sigil visualization, to meditative visualization,
shielding.
Yeah, shielding, well. or just sort of like overlaying the visualizations that you want to practice or need to practice. Yeah. Like within the reality that you perceive.
Absolutely.
Right? Which is really like sort of my connection with visualization is that first of all, I'm fairly neurotic about everything lining up, all the time. And, but also like when I water the garden, I don't, I add visualization to it. And I would almost go so far as to say that, like when I'm driving, not when I'm driving, but when I'm the passenger and you're driving, like when I'm in a car and not having to pay attention. Yeah, I don't drive. I'm not driving. I do drive. I just don't want to. It sounds awful. So I try not to. But like when you're driving, I will often like like find patterns in the trees. Rune work is great for pattern finding and pattern-centric people. And so I like find patterns in trees and like that kind of a thing to act as like sort of active visualization.
Yeah.
So that's for me, visualization's like a large part of things. I generally use visualization to move into a meditative state, and then once I'm meditating, I also use visualization to sort of affirm the things what with I'm meditating about before or in that direction thereof and therein.
Yeah, I often do the same thing.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, well, that is a perfect segue to the next section, which is about protective barriers. And some of this is physical, and some of this is mental, is visual.
Yeah, always double rap, bros.
Yeah.
She said, yeah. No, don't do that. It's a lie.
Don't do that.
I think that was a joke in the 80s.
Before I'd even, like, fully processed what you were saying.
Yeah, it's fine.
So, the first kind of protective barrier we're going to talk about is psychic shielding, which is very much visualization.
Okay, you're going to want to get, like, a 5mm thick piece of aluminum. You're going to want to wrinkle that into a hat.
No!
Protect you from the psychic beam. Don't trust the CIA. They know they can read your mind beams.
No. This is not tinfoil hat time. So basically, to shield yourself psychically, you are surrounding yourself with a shield or like an aura. It could be a bubble. It could be a circle. It could be whatever it is that you want. And this can be an everyday practice or one that you do only once in a while. And essentially, what you're doing is just visualizing that there is an impenetrable barrier in between you and anything out there that may want to be negative or cause you harm or even just in your day-to-day life.
Star Trek shields.
Yeah. So in real life,
you have to sometimes recharge them, and sometimes when assholes are being assholes, that shit goes down real quick. But don't worry. You just modulate your shield frequency, get the fuck out of that location in space. That's what that is. Yeah.
So,
hashtag Star Trek is life, bro. Everything I learned from Star Trek. Read that fucking book.
Real life, we live in Sonoma County in California, and we have some very dear friends that live in Lake County.
Oh, that is true.
And we drive to them, and when we go drive to them to see them, we drive through a particular state park. It's just the route that we take. And there's other routes, but that's the fastest and easiest one, so I'm going to keep going there.
Yeah.
But to do so, we have to drive through this park, which is called Robert Louis Stevenson State Park. And that park is so bad news bears. It is so negative. It is
Dude,
so
it's a pretty
evil
haunted park.
It's a very haunted park.
It's like crazy haunted.
I have heard a lot of stories from people who have been there after dark, just talking about it gives me goosebumps.
Don't even drive through there at fucking 12 noon. That place is like a little fucking creepy. I literally have
goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
Talking about it. And every time we drive through there, I put up the biggest, most impenetrable, like tank-like psychic shield on not just myself, but also us and our car and whatever it is that's happening that's getting us there. It is something that you can do all the time, or it can be something that you do a little bit more or less frequently. But I have found that putting up that shielding when we go through that particular park helps, as well as any other similarly negative places. It definitely helps. Is this like a cute little puppy trying to help us out?
Just getting involved in stuff.
Just getting involved in stuff?
Where are you trying to go, Hella? You just going underneath the table? Go into your under the table cave.
We've got a husky, and she just like when she wants your love, she comes to
she has no respect for like time or Zoom meetings
or what you're doing.
The frequency with which I'm in a meeting and I'm just like, oh yeah, mute. Shut the fuck up, get out of here. Unmute. Like
Yeah, she's very sweet. She's the best. But when she wants loves from you,
love 30,
she
bro.
will not
It's
stop
20 minutes late.
at the loves. So that's psychic shielding, and that can be done in very, very simple ways. It does not take a lot of imagination to necessarily do. But is very, very helpful to anyone who is sensitive to the energies around them.
Yeah, and this can also be used for like if you're not comfortable on a boat and you need to feel comfortable on this boat, like, you build that energy, build that barrier, build that intent to make yourself comfortable on that boat because you just don't like boats or the ocean or the river.
Yeah,
or
build yourself that protective psychic barrier.
Or whatever. I mean, like two-phase answer from me with regard to psychic shielding is that one, for me, it's a very like situational thing, right? I'm not one to like not try to experience 100% of the thing, whatever that means, right? But like at the same time, if you're in a situation, man, and somebody's just like not bringing some good news bears, or you're in a location that's like a little squirrely Dan or whatever. There's a lot of references. This is just how I talk. I'm sorry. But like just square up, get it, just shut it out. Don't let that shit affect you, whatever. But on the other side of this, and I talk about this endlessly, ask her, she knows, is like the white hot cleansing rage of confidence. And I don't mean like real confidence. I mean just like fake it till you make it, smile at the sun with your eyes wide kind of confidence, right? Just like blind confidence, blind white hot fucking confidence. Let me tell you what, that insulates you from like a lot of shit. So and then you well know this. We've done a ton of traveling together, but it's just like fucking just do it, just go, just be 100% in the moment, white hot protection with confidence, move through life. It fucking works. Guys, I know it sounds crazy, but it definitely does, and or at least it does for me. And like that's the same thing. As much as I don't like necessarily make the categorical effort to call it a psychic barrier, I mean that's clearly what it is when you think about it from sort of like a metaphysical standpoint, right? Is that a taller posture and a stronger gait and like a very focused, attentive gaze and set to the face and the jawline and things like that. And you do that and not it's the Superman pose, right? If you're feeling blue, literally stand in the light with your hands on your hips, staring up, smiling. You don't have to feel like you should be smiling. Just smile. Just bloody fake it. Do that for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You're gonna feel better afterwards. Hard facts. Science facts. But like it's blind white hot confidence. Psychic barrier for all psychic barriers. Let me tell you what, dude, it works.
That's certainly one way to look at it.
White hot confidence.
So another protective barrier that's more physical is the practice of veiling. And this is very popular with witches or just regular persons who align themselves. Probably. But this is not that.
That's a completely different thing. It has no relation.
But this is popular with witches or just people in general who align themselves with spoon theory, which the basic of spoon theory is you are a vessel, and everything that you have to do takes a spoonful of energy away from you. So, you encounter someone who is negative, and that takes 3 spoons. You have a rough day at work, that takes 5 spoons. You get cut off in traffic, that takes another spoon. You have these things that happen to you, and they empty your vessel of energy, and you just end up not having energy. And this is something...
Literally never heard of this. This is incredibly fascinating.
It's super neat.
Spoon
it's really
theory?
cool.
Okay.
It's really cool.
I was just like, sometimes you're a big spoon, sometimes you're a little spoon, sometimes you're the glute between the 2 spoons.
Sometimes you're both spoons. Maybe when you're by yourself.
Sometimes you're both spoons.
So yeah, spoon theory. It's very popular.
Is that
with
like 5
those
chili dogs at 12 o'clock at night? Is that what it means to be both spoons? Because I feel like 2 spoons. I'm eating chili dogs at bloody midnight. Something like that.
That doesn't even make sense.
Oh yeah, it does. He's not like a fat guy. This is fat guy logic, guys. Hey, fat guys out there. Sometimes you feel like 2 spoons. Sometimes you feel like 5 spoons. I'm just putting it out there.
It's not like sometimes you feel like a nut. So so the people who practice veiling and who align themselves with spoon theory. Sometimes they call themselves spoonies. Some people do not like being called spoonies.
Spoonies?
Yeah. So the practice of veiling, which is literally wearing a physical veil or head wrap, is really the most common and socially acceptable.
Up in the hair or like down over the face a veil?
Primarily up over the hair, but some people do wear it over their face as well.
I don't know any of this.
Is to protect and preserve the vessel, the liquid within their vessel. So this is a lot of people who have like lifelong diseases or, they
like genetic conditions or long-term
people
conditions.
who are
sure.
empaths, other people perhaps with disabilities. It seems to be very popular with them. However, that does not mean that is the only people who do those or only those people do that type of magic. That is by no means to categorize anyone and put a label on them. Certainly. But based on...
If you do spoon stuff, let me know about your spoon stuff. This is very interesting. I'm quite interested in this. I've never heard of this before. Like
and
literally
I am
at all,
familiar
which
with
is
but
crazy.
I am not a practitioner of spoon theory. Although I definitely do things that align with spoon theory in its own way. I wear a lot of jewelry, and for me, it is protective in nature and helps.
Would you consider yourself a spork theorist then? Yeah, that's funny.
I'll give you that dad joke. I will give you that dad joke.
Welcome for that shit.
So, if you're interested in veiling, definitely look into spoon theory. It's pretty fascinating. There is not a whole lot of information out there about it. It is a relatively newer thing to be doing, but it is pretty cool, and I definitely love to poke at somebody's brain. If they are listening, that if they are
definitely. If you do the spoon stuff, reach out, man, and let us know, because this is super interesting. I would like to learn about this, because this you're a vessel with a set amount of spoonfuls concept is necessarily, in my mind, so take that with a grain of salt and a shot of penicillin, but in my mind is necessarily similar to certain forms of Buddhism, where within or other sort of like there's also like dharmic practices and such like this, where within you have like a set number of heartbeats, or you have a set number of potential actions, or breaths, or a set number of decisions, which is why some people live like lower decision quotient lives and things. And that's very interesting. For me, I have no like Western or modern knowledge on this. All of my knowledge on a limited vessel style interpretations of like personal realities, or faiths or practices, generally revolve around Eastern practices, because that's what I grew up studying. A lot of, so I would certainly be interested if you are a spooner or spoon-y or person what with practices spoon-based stuff. Reach out. Let us know what you do. I'm quite interested to have a conversation. That
doesn't necessarily have to be on this podcast.
Oh, no. Yeah, just reach out.
FYI.
Like, real talk, if you're interested and you're like willing to have a conversation, like hit me up on social media. I'm literally at NerdJive everywhere. We'll set up like a bloody Zoom meeting. We can just hang out and talk. I'm like legitimately interested in learning more about this from a Western modern standpoint, just because it's very similar but considerably different enough that I honestly and legitimately have like real ass questions. So please reach out. I'm quite interested to learn.
Yeah. Now the last item in protective barriers is probably the most common question that I get as someone who's been practicing witch for 30-ish years is casting a circle. So casting a circle is commonly done before starting any magical work to prevent unfriendly or unwanted entities and energies from entering your space or participating in your workings. Casting a circle is different for a lot of people. I have sort of two ways that I cast a circle, and one way is a simple one, and then the other way is like the full Sabbath ritual way, and you got all of your
you got
points.
words, and you got movements, and you got flashing lights, and may or may not you got some kind of spoon or something.
No. But so
she does it. I'm
so
not
the
part of that.
full I
She does that part. I
do the
am
casting
generally
of the circle.
drinking. So
yeah. So when I first started out wanting to learn more about witchcraft beyond what abilities I had already sort of figured out and been lent myself in real life, all that was really available were books on Wicca. And that is not to hate on Wicca, but that's all that there really was back in the early 90s.
Yeah. I've read most of them. I get it, dude. Yeah,
but there
early
were
90s
a few
was heavy
other
Wicca.
things, and they're very tied to the elements and honoring the god and the goddess. So the full casting of the circle that I do for rituals involves not only visualizing a protective barrier so that unwanted energies and entities cannot enter, but also to invite the elements and the elemental powers to join, as well as the gods and goddesses. So that would be earth and air, earth, which is air, that is, water, which is west, north, which is earth, south, which is fire, and I also typically invite
I think some of those
god
were crazy
and
sounding,
goddess.
but
No,
okay.
I said them in a very weird way, and I don't even know why I did that. But also like the god and goddess, or mother and father, which is also sort of ties into ancestors, as well as other miscellaneous spirits, because there are some spirits who are not your ancestors and who are not associated with elemental powers, and maybe have never even held a corporeal form, that are positive to you or in many ways. So that is a full casting of the circle. And for many, many years, I did that every single time I did a big magical working, a capital M magical working. I don't want to say ritual, because not all of them are rituals. And over time, I have become more confident in my abilities, both as a witch, but also in the entities and spirits that I work with, that I do not cast a circle every time. And that may be like shocking exclamation point to people, or even horrifying exclamation point to people.
Oh, really?
But I don't have a problem with it. So at this point, I typically don't cast a circle unless I am really doing like a big, working or something like that. And that's usually when we have a bunch of people around and stuff like that.
Well, when we're doing like a full ass blot ritual, what the fuck do you call those? Sabbats, yeah. So,
yeah.
Different practices, different terms, and sometimes I forget the other ones. But Sabbat, when we do like a blot or a Sabbat, that's the part of that is the pomp and verisimilitude of it all. So it's involving, it's informative, but also, I mean, it's the same thing like when I do the Hammerite, similar to the circle to cast it, functionally the same thing if you really want to break it down and think about it. That's primarily for times when I'm involving like elves or dwarves or outgarths or fae or like nature spirits or something like that, where it's like you're sort of like openly inviting people into your space to celebrate something bigger than you.
Inviting entities that wouldn't normally be there.
Totally.
When there's people that wouldn't normally be there. And that's primarily when and why I do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Is not for me and not for you and I, but for, our friends and family who maybe they don't practice at all, or they only practice a little bit, and they haven't quite honed as much intuition and intention with their visualization practices. I don't want anything bad coming and attaching onto them.
If we're doing a blot, I mean, there are some blots that are very like we're we're inviting Outgarths and elves and you know, like nature spirits, and it's fucking party central. Let's do this.
Yeah.
You know, so you want to like be like safe and whatever. For me, it's sort of, I have the same thing. I kind of have, the like the everyday use casting a circle, which for me is less like drawing a circle and more like honestly more like an EMP. That makes me sound like a fucking nerd, but it's like a pulse and less like a circle, but that's because my brain is just like, a circle's only 2-dimensional, motherfucker. You need 3 dimensions. So I have to visualize it in a spherical or technically like you know, sort of non-spherical human egg shape sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's just a sort of like a thought in the head. Like visualize the pulse and what you plan on doing, like sort of build intent in you, like filling a capacitor, and then like release it in the form of closing a circuit and dumping the entire voltage of that capacitor in the form of a pulse. What with clears the area and gives you time to perform the thing that you need to perform, and then you're done with what you're doing. You're done with that state of openness or that state of insecurity, natural insecurity, before the waveform of the pulse collapses back in on you insofar as anything can reach you logically. And then the other form is like what you were saying with like the big capital M magic, capital R ritual style, and that's where I do a proper hammerite, which is where you know, I use Mjolnir and I summon the protection of Odin and Thor and oh my gods, that's awful.
Well,
but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, my brain just totally failed me.
And back in the day, I used to get 4 candles plus, and I would have one at north and one at east.
Remember
and one
those
at south
days?
And one at west,
I did the same
sit
thing.
in the middle of the candle circle, and honestly, it was very nerve-wracking. I was always very afraid that whatever candle was behind me was going to light me on fire.
I had brass bowls for each element. Right, so I'd have a bowl with water and a bowl with some like soil I gathered that day, and like a bowl with like burning wood.
Yeah.
Right, and a bowl with like incense cones or whatever in it.
Yeah.
Like I used to do the whole bloody kit
So I used to do that, and there's nothing at all wrong with that.
Oh no, it's super gangster when you do it. It's so nice.
It's very dramatic, and it feels very magical. So if that's something that you want to do in your practice,
not negatively dramatic. It's just like way more drama than I'm doing nowadays.
Oh yeah, I mean dramatic, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's very like cool feeling. You definitely,
it's gangster.
You definitely feel
quite
very,
gangster,
very badass when you're doing it. And if that's what you want to do, absolutely, totally go for it.
Be safe with it.
Rock that shit.
Yes.
Just be safe. But if you are not that particular type of person, or you don't want to do that all the time, feel free to shorten that into another simpler type of circle cast.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to spells.
All right, spell time. So, speaking of casting a circle, that's our first spell. But we're just talking about a nice, simple casting of the circle. So this is not a full big thing. We will do another one of those.
This is a non-denominational circle. This is what you call one of them.
Yeah, this is a quick casting a circle. You could also use this method for creating a psychic shield if you would like some assistance with that. So we're going to call this one casting a simple protective circle. Yeah. So first things first, like every spell, clear your mind. And once your mind is clear, visualize a circle of bright white light or fire surrounding your body. And this can be enveloping your entire body or literally just like a circle on the ground, whatever floats your boat and makes you happy. And once you have visualized this, this light, this fire, whatever it is, encapsulating you, say, "This circle protects me from anything that would bring me harm." And you don't have to say it out loud. You can say it in your head. But go ahead and do that. And once you have go ahead and repeat that too if you feel that that's necessary. It may not always be necessary, but sometimes you may find it to be. And once you feel that that has done its job and that area is sufficiently protected, expand your circle to include your home or your room or your magical working space or your immediate area. When we're doing a full ritual, we expand it from just you personally to this group of people that are standing here to our whole land that our house is on, and invite people to imagine essentially the same thing, but with their house, not our house. Although our house is a bonus. So once you've done it yourself, now expand it to include the area that you are in that you want to protect, and then say, this circle protects my whatever it is area that you're protecting, your home, or the circle protects my room, the circle protects my space, this circle protects the area around me, whatever makes sense. So this circle protects my blank and all within it from harm, because it's not just you that you're trying to protect or the physical place that you're in, but also all of the things that inhabit this space. You're also protecting your animals or any other people that you may live with or people that may be around, and protecting them from harm. And again, go ahead and repeat that as much as you need to and continue with that visualization. And if you want to expand it one more time to go even bigger, go ahead. There's really no limit here. And this is the type of casting a circle that you do not need to release with a more traditional casting of a circle where you have your elements and you're inviting things. You usually want to release them from that space because otherwise they're kind of sort of stuck there in a way. But this one doesn't really do that because this one doesn't invite any of those entities. And again, we will share a spell that has the whole thing. Yeah, this is a non-invocational circle. And again, we will share a more invocational ritual type circle at a later date. Don't know when that's going to be exactly.
We'll definitely go into it because I have the ritual written for like Thor specific Hammerite and also the like Thor, Heimdall, like Odin, full Monty.
So we're probably going to do a whole
we're going to do a whole thing just on
casting
fucking
a circle.
circles, dog. Yeah.
So this is a great intro to casting a circle for those of you who aren't sure how to do it or even what it is or how to work with it, or for those of you that are already doing it and just want to try something new or see what somebody else is doing. I highly recommend this. And if you're doing this as a psychic shield, you're basically essentially doing the same thing, but rather than making it a circle and protecting your land or whatever, it's protecting whatever it is that you're moving about in. The key to a psychic shield is that it is following you around, but perhaps maybe you're in a car moving at high speeds, driving on a mountain road that's super windy in a very haunted forest that somehow for some reason wants you to drive off of a cliff. But I digress. So,
Shield that car, bro.
So that is the number one spell. Now, number two is another crafting spell. Y'all know how much I love those. And we're going to talk about protection jars. So if you are not familiar with jar spells, this is a pretty simple jar spell. And you can do this for a sachet as
jar
well.
spell TLDR. Acquired jar. Put spell in. Jar
That's
spell.
basically what it is.
Yeah.
You can
spell in the jar, guys.
Yeah, you can put your spell in a jar. Step one, put your spell in a jar.
Yeah. Well, step one, cut a hole in a jar.
Yeah. Step one is cleaning the jar.
Yeah, step one is cleaning the jar. Step two is put your junk in that jar.
No,
step three is make her open that
getting
jar.
the label off of the jar.
Fucking Jesus, yeah.
And for those of you that are listening to this when it first comes out, I am working on a little TikTok video about how I like to clean labels off of jars because, oh boy, do I clean a lot of labels off of a lot of jars.
Do we save like every fucking jar?
It's awful.
Yeah, it
I
is.
save jars that I don't even know.
I would like to say that it's awful insofar as it takes up a fucking shitload of space and time, but it's not awful insofar as we literally are always like, I got this thing that's open and I gotta put it in something that's got a lid, and we're just like, well, fucking put aluminum foil on it. We don't got enough fucking jars. Yeah. It's a shit show. We need more jars, is what I'm saying. What's
we
up,
have
Ball?
a ton of jars.
Hook us up, sponsor us.
Oh my god, I would love to be sponsored by
Ball.
Ball.
Yeah.
We have so many of their jars.
God damn.
As well as, what is it? Safeway Signature Select Pasta Sauce. That is...
Those fucking jars! We got so many of those jars! And Underberg. Listen, we're not sponsored by any of these people. We're saying this because these are the kind of jars we use. In fact, my, live active jar spell is a fucking Underberg bottle that's got, 8 tons of fucking wax covering it. So, dude,
They're
seriously, all kind of jars. It could be a big jar. It could be a very tiny jar. If you don't know what Underberg is, look it up. Educate yourself. It's life changer. I'm a pro bitters person because I'm old timey.
Oh yeah.
But it's like a very, very tiny. It holds 1 ounce.
It's like a tiny, tiny bottle. It's very,
a very tiny
cool.
bottle. They're so cool. I love them.
So get your jar, and if you don't want to use a jar, you can use a sachet, and a sachet can be done in a few different ways. You can create the small fabric pocket yourself, or you can purchase those little pre-made drawstring bags, or you can use a sock if you really want to.
Yeah.
That's another cool way to do it, or any other variety of things. And if you want it to be burnt, because...
It can be leather, it can be
it can be
animal
leather.
products, if you're cool with it being animal products. If you're not, again, that's fine, don't do it.
I mean,
it can also be a wooden box. Let me tell you what, those Bloody Michaels
those,
tiny wooden boxes.
Yeah,
those
great.
super soft birch boxes.
You can use like an Altoids tin or a Tic Tac box, a Tic Tac box.
Paper lunch bag. I don't even know if they make those anymore. I'm again old.
Yeah.
But a paper lunch bag is real talk. The original gangster burn magic thing.
Absolutely,
for me.
yeah.
That was my younger days, was put shit in bag, roll bag up, burn.
Yeah. So if you want to burn it, you can certainly do that again. Practice proper fire safety. But if you don't have a paper lunch bag, you can also put it into, if you've just got a big square of paper, or even a paper bag.
Oh yeah, parchment.
And then you can just sort of fold it into it.
If you can make an origami bag.
Yeah.
I was never good at that, but I know a bunch of kids that used to do that.
Yeah, you can do
That's dope.
You could even use tinfoil if you really wanted to. Don't burn tinfoil, but you can do so much stuff with a protection jar.
So a
spell.
tinfoil protection jar spell for your head? Hashtag don't let the CIA read your mind. I don't believe any of this. I'm sorry. It's too perfect for what we're talking about.
Okay.
I wish I had thought about that before. I would have brought a tinfoil hat to the party.
Oh, I'm so glad that I didn't.
We have enough tinfoil, maybe.
We don't have enough tinfoil.
Oh, well, that's a lie. The survey says that's a lie. So, continue.
But that was a good callback. So, jar spells. So you can use. You don't have to use a jar. You can use literally anything. You can put stuff inside of like that, and you want to fill it with any combination of items from the correspondence list, which we will go over when we are done talking about the spell.
Yep.
And once you have put the things into the jar, you usually will have sort of an empty space within the jar, and that's certainly not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing either. It's whatever it is that you feel it is. Some people like to have a lot of empty space in a jar. Some people don't, and the larger jar you have, obviously the more stuff you would need to put in there. So that is certainly a thing, but that does not mean that you have to fill a giant quart jar full of herbs and doodads and whatnot.
Yeah.
But so once
you generally have a larger jar than I with regard to jar spells and such.
Yeah.
And that's honestly has nothing to do with nothing. It's just that like the smaller jar size allows me to decorate it.
Yeah, and I want to see what's inside the jar too, because I don't need
to see what's in it.
Well, I usually add colored glitter. That aligns with the color magic of my spell.
Totally.
But also to make it pretty, because who doesn't like glitter? And
me, I don't like glitter. Glitter is the herpes of the craft world.
Glitter's fantastic.
It's a fucking nightmare. It gets everywhere and it stays forever.
If you like, you can fill the remaining space of the jar with blessed water or another liquid with personal significance.
Yeah.
And that's a very broad way to say...
Blessed water doesn't mean that you need to already have that blessed water. You can acquire water and then bless it and then put it in the jar.
Yeah, you could also use like moon water or, you know, something like that. You could use storm water, sun water.
Yeah.
You could use urine. That is a very common item for protection jars of old times and other types of bodily fluids. Do not hurt yourself.
No judgment. Don't get sick.
Yeah, don't get sick.
Don't make shit weird and gross.
Don't get
no
infection.
judgment. I'm not gonna hate if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, you can also fill it with honey or sugar water, or you can fill it with vinegar. You can fill a spell jar with oil. Really, if your favorite thing is whatever kind of drink, like if your favorite thing is Coca-Cola, and this is a spell jar protecting you, fill it with Coca-Cola. I don't care.
Degas,
I mean, don't actually fill it with Coca-Cola because it's fizzy. Figure that out first.
Degas it.
But you get the idea.
Quick scientific aside: put it in a glass. Pour it between two glasses, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Degas that soda. Now it's safe. That's how you degas things.
Yeah.
We're going to hurry into it.
If you like, you can fill your jar with any kind of liquid you want, although it is certainly not necessary or required.
Also, your jar doesn't technically need to be filled.
Yeah.
Even though that's generally the like conceptual understanding, it doesn't have to be. If you put all your stuff in the jar and it's like half full, then that's fine. Like, who cares?
Yeah, and once you have your jar full to your liking...
half is the potential outcomes of the jar spell.
Yeah,
Fill
or
those with
is air, which
experiences.
brings thoughts into reality.
Yeah, bro.
So once you fill your jar to the fullness of your liking, now you're going to want to charge it by visualizing the protection that you want it to give. And that's kind of a weird, vague thing to say, but if you wanted to protect you, visualize the protection it's giving you. Visualize that personal shield. Visualize yourself avoiding situations where there would be harm. Picture yourself happy and healthy and thriving. You know, if it's for your house, you know, picture your house standing for forever and withstanding storms or earthquakes or whatever the thing is. You know, picture those things. Visualize and share intent into those things.
Yeah.
And you know, whatever the thing is, just continue with that. Our pigeons are
Jazz. What are you doing? Okay, whatever. She's just gonna do that.
So we have 2 pigeons as pets, in addition to our other pets inside of the house.
Yeah,
and
house pigeons.
House pigeons. They're Al and Jazz, and Jazz likes to do what I call a workout, where she stands.
She does pigeon calisthenics.
Yeah.
She hangs at the edge of a thing, and instead of falling over, flaps her wings to stay up on it. It's very crazy. Al does not do it. Yeah, there's more than enough space for her to fly around. She does it just honest to God for shits and gigs. I think it's just like a fun thing that she likes to do while Al is resting in front of the mirror, staring longingly into himself. Because pigeons are fucking weird animals.
They're so fun and they're so weird. And they tend to want to do this stuff, like all of our animals, when we're in the middle of a video.
Yeah.
Especially if you watch us on YouTube, you know that's a thing that happens.
You know what? Pets hate YouTubers, apparently.
They are up in our business.
Dude, the frequency with which I have to edit that shit out is so high.
Yeah. Anyway, visualize the protection that you want this jar or other sachet type thing to give you.
Protect.
Yeah, to protect.
Yeah.
And these types of spells are usually a slower releasing spell, because it's not like you need protection for only this week, you know, and never again. You usually want it to be a longer term sort of thing. So these are a slower releasing spell, and again, these things are not meant to replace safety precautions. If you make a jar spell to protect your house, and I mean, we live in California, so wildfires are a thing, and a wildfire burns your house down, it's not because your protection jar didn't work.
Yeah. Well,
you know, or if you have a protection jar for yourself and you have some sort of accident and you break a bone, that's not because your protection jar didn't work. However, these jars do ward off some of that negative stuff. It's not just because bad things happen doesn't mean that you have some sort of curse or some sort of hex or anything like that.
Sometimes
and
reality just does bad things.
The magic of this parcel, this jar, whatever the thing is, will run out. Whether you have burnt it or it's in a jar or it's hidden somewhere or whatever the thing is. And you can either make a new protection jar or you can charge this jar again to renew the spell. That choice is really up to you.
Yes.
Some people like to break down their jars and reuse or throw away those components so they can use the jar again. And if you want to do that, go ahead. Just be safe when you are opening that stuff.
Well, it's just like a sigil. It's just like a sigil. It's like anything. If you want it to last, do it so it lasts. If you expect it to have some sort of temporal constraint, then make sure that you are handling it in and disposing in it of a moral manner. So, like, if you're gonna do some sort of a jar spell, but you want to bury it in your front yard or something like that, put it in, make it out of biodegradable and like plant and nature safe stuff, and then put it in a container or jar, quotes, that is like biodegradable and nature safe. Hashtag like toilet paper rolls full of herbs.
Yeah, toilet paper
equals
rolls.
best buried jars.
Using
I'm
leaves,
gonna put that the fuck out there. But like also my Underberg bottle bloody jar thing spell, it has been covered, like sealed with wax, but the wax is always an active candle that I use and has been that way for the better part of like a fucking year and a half.
Oh, it's probably closer to 2 years.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and that's a jar spell that you essentially continuously renew and renew and renew and renew.
Exactly. Even if maybe 100% of the tent of the original jar spell has been lost on me because of forgetfulness, but that's fine.
I remember what it's for.
I don't know what's happening. I just, listen, it's got candles on.
It's very witchy.
Music with
Very
rocks
witchy.
in. Who fucking
Yeah,
cares?
so...
Got a lot of active spells. It's hard to keep track of all
Yeah,
of them.
so that's a basic jar spell, and really you can kind of do this sort of thing with anything, but this one is specifically geared towards protection.
Yeah. So, okay. Last, best, longest, but we're not going to give you all of this in the podcast. I'm sorry, and I would love to, but we don't have 8 million hours. I have to fucking edit this still.
Yeah.
And technically finish my dinner because I'm like less than halfway through.
Yeah. Correspondences.
Correspondence.
We're going to start with colors.
Yeah.
So colors that are associated with protection, it's primarily black and white, because white is sort of an all-purpose thing. But light blue and pink are also associated with protection. I imagine that's maybe one of the reasons why those colors were given to babies. As specific genders in their clothing and whatnot.
Babies stealing our colors, man.
That's right. So
I use light blue and pink all the time and stuff.
That's right. So black, light blue, pink, and white are very common colors for protection magic. And animals. So we've got armadillo. Armadillo. I was gonna say that.
Armadillo.
I don't know how that word was trying to come out of my mouth.
Yes.
Bears.
Yep.
Boars.
Yep.
Cats and dogs. Dragons are also very commonly associated with protection in certain
Check in
cultures.
on your pet dragons. They know shit.
That's right. Ravens and roosters, as well as turtles and wolves.
Yeah.
There are other animals as well.
We have certainly half of those animals.
Yeah, this is certainly not an exhaustive list.
Yeah. Real talk though, roosters will warn you when some shit's on your property when ain't supposed to motherfucking be there. Let me tell you what.
That's right.
Rooster secrets.
So, yeah, roosters definitely will.
Yeah.
So, herbs. There are a ton.
Herbs.
A ton of herbs. Like, how many herbs would you say are in this list here?
Like 100 herbs.
There's so many herbs.
I
am certainly not going to name all of these.
We're not naming all of these.
I'm gonna throw out some names of what I think are the most common. So a lot of these are a little bit more kitchen witchy. That way you don't have to worry about mail order and getting weird esoteric herbs or whatever. So a lot of these are fairly common herbs that I'm gonna name off.
Dimethyl. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dimethylcodone. I don't even know if that's a real thing. Acorns, aloe. Basil, bay, which includes bay leaves, carnations, cilantro, aka coriander, cinnamon.
I mean, different part of the plant, but yes.
Same plant though.
Same plants. Sure,
Yeah, same plant.
Whatever.
Cloves, clovers, moss of any type, and curry are curry.
Curry the plate?
Curry the spice. Curry the spice.
Curry the herb.
Curry.
In my mind, it's like a curry plate, right? It's the logical equivalent of like somebody pulling a cross from under their shirt in a vampire movie. There's like a vampire movie, but somebody's just like, how do you feel about this yellow curry? And he's like, and they're like, this shit's delicious. You should have some of this. I get it, bro. So, curry's the best. I love curry.
An interesting thing of note is that a lot of herbs that go into curry are associated with protection magic. So I think that may be part of it. And I'm not going to name a whole bunch of those right now, but those are definitely there. Ivy and lavender.
Yeah.
Lettuce. Yes, the stuff that you eat. Letuche. Limes and onions and mint are all associated with protection, as is sandalwood, as well, and most trees. You know, trees are big and they're protective in many ways.
Yeah.
Berries, a lot of them have like thorny plants. Those are associated with protection. And speaking of thorny pokey plants, basically any thorny pokey plant. That's your thistles, that's your cactus, that's your berries, it's all those things.
Yeah. You ever throw a thistle at somebody? That shit's very protective. They don't want to attack you no more. They just got attacked by a thistle.
Yeah.
Or, you know, have you ever walked into a field and there's just like a bunch of thistles and you're like, I don't want to move anymore.
Now, pokey plants like that are more of an offensive type of protection magic. That is offense, not offense.
It can be both.
It could certainly be both.
You can make
it definitely
make it weird.
Some of the things. So, again, this is a very long list. I did not list all of the things that are very specific to certain types of protection.
Yeah.
And there is a longer list of these herbs.
It'll be in the Book of Shadows page.
Yeah, in the Book of Shadows page.
It'll be in the Book of Shadows page.
If you have
this
questions,
herbs list is fucking bananas.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it and I'm reading shit. And some of these aren't even words. So
some of these things I had to look up.
Yeah, it's fine.
And if you have questions about a specific herb or something is not on the list, definitely shoot us a message.
Yeah.
Or if you're on YouTube, go ahead and put a comment with anything that you like to use that's a protection herb that is not on this list. Moving on, we have deities. So some deities that are associated with protection are Apollo, Artemis, Bastet, the Dagda, Diana, Empanda. It takes a lot of force to not say empanada there. Horus,
Impanda.
Tara, Thor, and other entities. Actually, there's a longer list of entities in general that are associated with protection than there are deities, because most deities are protective of people who are their patrons, right? So I worship I worship
that kind of thing.
Aphrodite is one of the goddesses that I worship, and so I could call upon her as a deity to protect me. She is one of my patron gods.
Yeah, totally. So there are gods with have historical or practical connection with protection, but then there is also like gods you worship that you could potentially ask for help or protection in a situation. And
there's a lot of other entities associated with protection as well. Yeah. And this is a huge long list. I'm only going to hit a couple here. Your ancestors are certainly someone that you can call upon for protection. Remember we were talking about heirlooms? Any sort of guardian angel or patron saint or deity that you use. Also the Landisir and the Landvictir. The Lares and kobolds, as well as entities from other parts of the world, which I am not great at pronouncing, so I'm going to skip those. You can find those in the Book of Shadows. Those are, I'm looking at some of these words I typed in, and I was like, ooh, boy, I knew how to pronounce this when I put it in here. So all of those can be called upon for protection, but not all of them need to be. And the last section is miscellaneous. So crosses we've definitely talked about. Evil eye charms, those are usually little blue beads that are sort of like have a pattern that's like an eye in them. There's even an emoji, guys. The Eye of Horus. The full moon is associated with protection magic. Horseshoes, pentacles, and other religious symbols, as well as shields. And I saved the best for last, the most important for last, the most common for last, salt.
Yeah, we've all watched Charmed, guys. We know how salt works. So, salt. We didn't even talk about it yet. This whole podcast. Salt can also be used for protection. We'll get there. It's gonna be...
There's a lot that has to do with salt.
There's so much. Yeah. Oh my fucking God.
And you can use salt in a variety of ways. You can use it for cleansing. You can use it for purification. You can use it for protection.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you can do with salt that are not even culinary.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely be getting into those in a deep dive episode in the hopefully near future.
Yes.
And that is the correspondence list. Woo!
All right, guys. So this was an intro to protection magic, insofar as this has been one of the longer podcasts that we've ever done, and I need to wrap this up rather quickly. I can see the time on the camera. So, I have been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. This has been the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. Yeah, and don't forget to like this video, comment below, share and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on a regular podcast thing, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. They come out every other week. And leave us a review.
If you want to
So
interact with us more, check us out on our social media channels. Yep. You can find all of those by looking for either Nerd Jive or Goddess Jules on Facebook, Instagram, and
fucking
TikTok,
literally everywhere.
As well as you can also go to nerdjive.com/links to find all of those. Yep. And there you can also find entrance info to our Patreon.
Yeah, you can find our Patreon. If you want to support us in more of these sort of endeavors, yes, please do follow us on Patreon. We do have a podcast-specific tier called the Horn and Cauldron Coven, wherein you gain access to our Book of Shadows pages, which is a synopsis of all the things we've gone over, as well as the complete correspondence list. I'm literally looking at this list and having to engineer how the fuck I'm gonna figure that out on a single sheet of paper. We'll see what happens this time. Might be a 3 fucking pager. It's not important. It's not important. Anyway, as well as the complete write-up for both of the spells, so check that out. And you'll gain access to our Discord where we talk about witchy stuff. Right now it's mostly in the form of gifts, but that's because whatever, we're millennials, leave it alone. But anywho, this has been the Horn and Cauldron podcast. Fucking
stay magical.
Stay magical, guys. Be cool to each other. Live life moss, and be chill. Don't be disrespectful. Have a rock and roll life, guys. Just relax, man. It's all good. We'll make it. Cheers.